Hello and welcome to another episode of your favorite morning bowl of podcast goodness. Maybe it's your afternoon delight, or maybe you want to rock and roll all night and party every day and this is your nightcap. But of course, it's another episode of your favorite crazy bipolar podcast on the internet. We got 21st Century Rocker Mom podcast with me, your host, Tanya Candler, hanging out with you every week here. I'm glad to have another week with you. You know, I really debated doing a show this week. Completely and honestly, I have to tell you, Father's Day weekend is upon us. It might be Father's Day for you somewhere already. And it's hard for me because it's bittersweet for me. It's really hard. And so I thought a lot about it. I cried a lot about it. I meditated a lot about it. And with that came a calm sort of clarity that my dad would be pissed if I didn't continue with my podcast and I didn't do something about Father's Day, and maybe not something about him because he wasn't showy and he didn't want to tell you how awesome he was. He just was quiet and humble about things. And that was what was cool about him. And that's what's cool about a lot of people. So I thought, you know, if I gave up, my dad would be so disappointed. And if I had the unmitigated audacity to cancel my show on account of the fact that I was just bummed out, that would be kind of like a big letdown for me and for anyone who listens, which is not cool. So, and then, you know, I thought in my head, in my like heart of hearts, my self of selves, that maybe somebody might be feeling the same way on Father's Day and they, you know, inadvertently join this shitty ass club too. And you might, you know, they might be losing one of their parents, whether it's your mom or your dad or whoever, parental figure, whoever raised you. Maybe you're going through the exact same thing. So maybe this is good for you too. So, and I can't tell you, like, honestly, how many folks have been gracious enough to share their stories and to share their lives and to share their experiences with me in a private way. I'd never bring any of them up or anything like that. But they have helped me so much and so profoundly through my grief, and they know who they are, and kind of navigating this strange bridge over really troubled water, to be honest, and going places that I didn't, you know, think that I would go with this journey. And it's thanks to people like that I can navigate situations like this, and they're hard. And I guess I found great comfort in this strange club, you know, of, you know, people that have lost their parents or their loved ones or their parental figures or the people that have raised them. And like I say, I didn't join by choice. Believe me, if I had my way, my dad would be over having, you know, some kind of ridiculous meat dish that I made on the barbecue or the smoker for him. Because, you know, aside from my veganism and, you know, Rob's too, I'm still going to cook meat for the people that want it because it's your choice what you have. My kids still eat meat. I can't indoctrinate them to this lifestyle. You know what I mean? As long as they're still into it and it's healthy for them and I'm getting organic stuff and good stuff, and I think it's cool. And, you know, dietitians will say the same thing. I went vegan because I'm 39 years old and it's my choice. Your kids can't make that choice for themselves, and I think they should be able to make that choice for themselves, you know, eventually. That doesn't mean sit around and let them eat food of a package all day, but, you know, there's times for that and there's times for not. Like I say. No, but I say, I'll cook whatever, whoever wants. You know, I'm a flexitarian as far as that goes. Not as far as me eating it, but as far as what you're cooking, I can get into it. I can pick up what you're putting down. I can make whatever. So, you know, obviously, Father's Day is going to be a sore spot for me. Take a sip of my cup. My mushroom tea, my mushroom water. That's that mud water. I'm not going to lie. Makes me feel rejuvenated. I'm going to drink a lot of it this episode. I got a big cup. Oh God, look out. But then, you know, I think, you know, with Father's Day, I think about my partner, like Rob, and, you know, I can't discount him on Father's Day, and I can't forget about all the things that he does for our children as a father and as a provider and as like a daddy, all the things, you know. I can't discount all the things that he does all year long, all the time long, to make sure that those kids are okay. You know what I mean? So I have to celebrate Father's Day, whether I like it or not. It's around, it's a day, and I can't stop celebrating it just because I lost my dad. I can celebrate him in other ways, and I plan to, and I will, and I am, and I have been. And you know, it's Dad's Day. What the fuck are you gonna say? It's always gonna be around. So I better just buckle up, because it's not gonna go away. And I can't underappreciate the people that deserve the appreciation on Father's Day, because, you know, I'm bummed out. So part of me is going to be super bummed out, but then part of me is obviously going to be celebratory and making sure people get honored in the correct way. Bedelia, you bitch. I want my cake. I want my cake, Bedelia. You bitch. Happy Father's Day. Seriously. Happy Father's Day. Have you seen that part, you know, in the Creep Show? You know what I'm talking about. Probably Father's Day, one of the best, like, mini little novella parts in Creep Show is Father's Day. And it's so fantastic, and it's so well done, and how scary it is. But, you know, my dad used to joke about the Creep Show when we were kids, because he used to own a movie store. And we used to, of course, watch things that were super inappropriate. We weren't supposed to watch yet. So Creep Show 1, Creep Show 2, all those things, Troll, all the classic horror movies that we liked as a kid. They were a little bit kid-like, but not totally appropriate. We used to get our hands on them, and then we liked those shows a lot. I loved the Creep Show. I really got into Stephen King and things like that, and George Romero and Tom Savini, things of that nature. Horror movies were my jam, even when I was like a kid. It was nothing that I would let my kids watch now, like, because like, fuck no. But I don't know. It was the 80s. It was a fucking weird time to be alive. Saying things about, you know, dads, and watching things about dads. Oh, this week, my heart, holy smokes, it tugged on the heartstrings big time. I watched Dirty Daddy. Rob and I turned on Dirty Daddy on Netflix, the Bob Saget sort of tribute and almost like documentary, and there's raw footage kind of him just being himself. And it was hard, you know, to watch. It's a laugh, it's a cry, it's a really tug on your heartstrings special. So if you think you're ready for that, or it's, you know, soon, or not too soon, you can tune into that. It's on Netflix. It's really good. And, you know, Bob Saget, like I say, he always like was a growing up dad to me, when he was like Danny Tanner to me. So you know, Dirty Daddy, I didn't find out about his dirty comedy until like a little bit later. And that always kind of, it shocked me, because I knew him as like Mr. Clean Machine, Danny Tanner. And I'll talk about, you know, TV dads and all that stuff in a little bit. But it shocked me to hear his comedy, but so many people loved him, and there was such an outpouring of love for him. It was so nice to see. It was so nice to see his wife come up, and his daughters were there, and there was a lot of people who really are going to miss him. And I think the tribute to him was fitting. It was amazing, and it was nice. So there's a lot of good dads I know, you know, my friends' dads, you know, growing up, they're kind of the same dads that I know now. They're really good dads. There are a lot of good dads I know that are my friends. There's a lot of good dads I know that are moms that are pulling fucking double duty. There's a lot of, you know, there's all kinds of modalities of great dads for Father's Day, and for any day, really, you know what I mean? Sometimes there's a single dad out there pulling fucking double duty too. There's all kinds of, like I say, modalities of wonderful dads and ways to show them. So I thought, why not put a highlight on favorite TV dads? Now, there are lots of favorite TV dads. Like, one of my favorites, and don't laugh at me for this, because this is ridiculous. One of my favorite TV dads is Tony Maselli. I love Tony Maselli. Who's the boss? Tony Maselli is Angela. No, I love Tony Maselli. I loved Who's the Boss. I loved everything about it. I love Tony Danza. He's great. And he's one of my favorite TV dads. Danny Tanner. Goddamn Danny Tanner. Bob Saget as Danny Tanner on Full House. And my kids have just, especially my eldest, have just tuned into Full House, because it's just kind of the age where it's appropriate, and the kids in his class are kind of talking about it. So he can watch it and stuff, the early stuff, and make sure it's tame enough. And he doesn't like the kissing and stuff. He's like, oh, he does not love that. But like Danny Tanner was one of those, good TV dads to me growing up. He was a single dad, a widower trying to raise his 3 daughters with, his friend and his brother-in-law and navigate the waters of, 3 little girls. How do you do that? 3 men and some babies. It's hard. So Danny Tanner was one of my favorites. Carl Winslow. Family Matters. Family mattered to him. Carl Winslow was one of my favorite TV characters because he was always such a good dad, and he always tolerated Steve Urkel as that crazy neighbor and kind of took him in under his wing as his surrogate son who was in love with his daughter Laura. And you got any cheese? Come on. Steve Urkel was classic, and Carl Winslow just treated him like one of his own. Movie dads who I thought about. Peter McAllister. I love Peter McAllister. As the dad in the Home Alone movies. He's passed now, obviously. But Peter McAllister in the Home Alone movies, he was the ultimate dad, except he left his fucking kid at home. How the fuck do you forget about your kid and leave him at home? That's crazy. Holy shit, Peter McAllister. But, I forgive you. A whole cheese pizza just for me. That would make me sick right about now. But if it was vegan cheese, I'd be okay. The old man in A Christmas Story. The old man. Bumpuses! He was always chasing those fucking dogs, the neighbor's dogs, always pissing him off. The old man. He was a turkey junkie. Everyone's seen A Christmas Story with Ralphie, and you know what I mean? And the old man with the leg lamp. He was just classic. He was a classic movie dad. He's one that you can't forget. And then obviously, Alan Grant in Jurassic Park. That was kind of like a spin-off role for him because it was someone who really didn't want to be a dad but then fell into the dad role as Alan Grant in Jurassic Park because he had to take these 2 kids under his wings, I guess, Triassic period, check it out. And he had to make sure that they were okay, and he had to kind of become their parent. So it was like found family for him. So that was kind of crazy. He was a found dad. Band dads, obviously. There's lots of band dads that I like. Paul McCartney, he has a lot of kids. He's a great dad. All his kids are doing wonderful things. And obviously he was in the Beatles. Paul McCartney's a great dad. I like Frank Zappa as a dad. He always included his kids kind of in his musical adventures, even having Moon Zappa, as she calls herself now, in doing Valley Girl and kind of laughing at, Californian sort of culture and mall culture and that totally culture, that sort of thing. Don't ever listen to that again. But obviously, yeah, Frank Zappa was one of my favorites. Definitely. Dave Grohl, he's a good dad. Ozzy Osbourne, I love him. I'm watching him be a dad. These are people that I love watching be dads. Obviously, there are a lot of people. Scott Ian from Anthrax. I recently talked to a friend about Scott Ian from Anthrax and how he's always on his Instagram, shredding guitar with his son. And it's really cool to see a dad do that with their kids. So that's really cool because I teach music to my kids. They love it. My eldest loves the drum pad and electronic stuff right now and piano. The youngest wants the stringed instruments so she can strum. So it's whatever floats your boat, man. As long as it's music, go for it. My musical beat laboratory is open for your musical pleasure. Go for it, kids. Obviously, Billy Joe Armstrong, he's one who, he produces his kids' band, he influences his kids' band, he helps them, and he's a good dad. He's as far as good, everything goes. He's really, really, insightful for them. He helps them out. He really, has that rock knowledge where he can give it, to them straight and let them know what it's like. Obviously, one of the best dads of all time. I'm going to give you Clark W. Griswold, Holiday Road, Holiday Road. No, seriously, Clark W. Griswold is one of my favorites. Not only because he's the best dad ever, because I've said this before on the podcast. He reminds me of my Uncle Stan. It's just ridiculous. I can't even say it without laughing. It's ridiculous. He's so awesome. I love Clark W. Griswold. And then, obviously, I love George Banks. I love George Banks, the father of the bride. I love George Banks. George Banks is the father of the bride. And then mother and daughter are pregnant together, like the late, great Martin Short. Maybe he didn't die. No, Martin Short's still alive. It was, it was Iago. God damn, it was Gilbert Gottfried. Thank God Martin Short's still with us. No, but Martin Short, in that movie, as Frank, he makes me almost fall over. Him and his assistant are so funny because they're so intent on spending all of George bonks his money on this wedding. Like, it's a good thing his last name is Banks, because he's got to have bank, because he's got to pay for this shit. And he's got a baby coming on in the second one. It's like a late in life baby. We had it on sex on the floor, and this baby came. And that's what happened. And then I think of some of the sexiest dads of all time. And I got to say, at the top of my list, and you're probably going to be surprised by this, because so long, farewell, auf Wiedersehen, goodbye to my underwear, because Christopher Plummer in his day was a fox. And as Captain Von Trapp, Jesus Christ, he could have blew that whistle and I would have went anywhere for Captain Von Trapp. God damn, he's got to be the hottest dad. The hills are alive with the sound of sexy. Seriously, Christopher Plummer was quite a looker in his days. And the funny thing is, this is a funny story, because this ties into the whole thing here. The whole universe, somehow in a circle completes itself. And Rob, actually, when he finished university here in London, before he did his film stuff, he finished his university and he did really well. And guess who was presenting his diploma? It was Sir Christopher Plummer, for crying out Pete. It was Christopher Plummer. Christopher Plummer gave it to him. And I don't know which his grandparents were more proud of. If he, because he graduated with, honors and he did so well at UWO, or because Christopher Plummer gave him his diploma. And Christopher Plummer is Captain Von Trapp, for Christ's sakes. For crying out, great googly moogly. Fuck Captain Von Trapp. I love Christopher Plummer. My salute is to you this week. Show wing. Seriously. Happy Father's Day to that. In that disgusting, in that disgusting display of affection, my selection this week for you is something ridiculous. And because it's Father's Day, I decided to talk about something, other than, just the good stuff. We got to talk about the patriarchy, because obviously we have to talk about the patriarchy because it's Father's Day. And what the fuck? What a good week to talk about it. I mean, this week I went and I saw some beautiful butterflies. I was able to mix some business with some pleasure. I saw some beautiful butterflies flying around, seemingly place beautiful, just landing all over you. I saw how free they were. I saw how free these butterflies were. And then it got me thinking about people not being able to be free of certain things, and being brainwashed and being controlled really badly. And leaders, and no other leader was more patriarchal, more of a leader, more of a trying to be a father or an uncle figure, like a father figure, like I say, patriarchal, than Warren Jeffs. And Warren Jeffs has got to be the worst of the worst. And I even made America's top 10 FBI's most wanted list before he was inevitably captured. Warren Jeffs is absolutely the worst. And I will say that with absolute 100% conviction. Warren Jeffs is the fucking devil. And because Warren Jeffs is the devil, that's why I decided this week, and I'd seen the show on Netflix, Keep Sweet, Pray, and Obey. I thought, because I knew a lot about the fundamentalist church, the kind of FLDS before a lot of this, but the reason I decided to do Warren Jeffs particularly this week is because, oh my gosh, the things that I learned on this show, plus the things that I already knew, kind of slammed together. And then I did a little bit more research, and I did some more reading, internet stuff. I did a lot of reading. Again, I got down the rabbit hole. And there was something about seeing these free butterflies and being able to, they were just flying around and, not bothering anyone. No one was bothering them, and they just kind of went for it. And then seeing a quote, and I have to read this because it's so ridiculous. I'm back to reading a little bit here. And it says, "Wives, submit yourselves unto your own husbands as unto the Lord." And that's Ephesians 5:22. Wow. That's a bold statement. Submit yourselves to your husbands as unto the Lord. So if you listen to exactly what your husbands say, basically your husband's the same as God. So you better turn yourself over and listen to him. Otherwise, you will not be, glorified, whatever the word is. whatever the word is. So that's a lot, like, to digest right there. And that's a lot to unpack. And then putting yourself in, giving yourself all the trust and giving all your trust to one person, like, who is a self-proclaimed prophet or a God on earth, like a godlike person on earth, to these people who are your inevitable followers. Putting all that trust in one person is kind of crazy and kind of hard and almost like unthinkable to actually think about. Like, giving your life and your business and your, like, everything you've ever worked for to just one person is kind of nuts. And so at this point, when you're like following a prophet this much, lines sort of become blurred, and they become blurred so much that I think at one point they fucking completely disappear. Like, they're gone. Like, they're gone. And that's when things start getting really scary. And honestly, that's when I come in, because I love all the weird, culty, esoteric stuff that you don't, hear about necessarily, that you have to dig for. Because once I grab on to something, I'm like a fucking dog. I don't want to let go. Like a story, I just want to, I want to sink my chompers into it, and I want to know fucking everything about it. I want to turn it inside out and wear it like my flesh coat, and then I'm gonna fucking learn all about it. Yeah. No, that's what I need to do, because what's more culty, really? What is more fucking culty than church? They tell you what to do. They tell you what to believe. They tell you how to think. They tell you where you're going if you don't do this. They tell you where you're going if you do this. Like, that's fucking culty, man. And trust me, I know about cults. We know how many fucking episodes I've done about this. It's ridiculous. And like I say, as these lines get blurred, as they do in most cults, that's when they start to disappear, and there are no lines. And that's, like I say, the scary stuff happens. Now let's all pop into the magical spaceship and into the magical time machine. And where are we going? Where are we going, boys and girls, ladies and gentlemen, people of all ages, anyone, humankind, where are you? Where are we going, peeps? You want to know where we're going? All y'all. We're going to the magical land of Salt Lake City, Utah, where the backyards are fucking huge like a goddamn baseball diamond. There's 8 swing sets, and there's the wives to fucking match. Fucking Salt Lake City is a weird place. If you've ever been to Salt Lake City, Utah, it's strange, man, because they still believe in modern day, is whatever they call it, polygamy, which they refer to as plural marriage, having more than one wife. And in FLDS, and I have to say what this is, FLDS is the Fundamentalist Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. They're not Mormons. They follow some stuff that's loosely based on Mormonism, but they mainly support plural marriage, which is illegal, just not enforced in a lot of places, which is, but the thing is, they were like supporting plural marriage within their community, and women that were underage, girls, I can't even say women because they were girls and they were underage. So this is bad. This is bad. I've been fascinated by all things church, anti-church, cults, esoteric, all the things that are, like I say, hidden behind the scenes, the things that they don't tell you, the things that they don't want you to know, and the things that I dig for and look for. These are the things that I want to know. I want to Nancy Drew it up, and I want to be like, Nancy Drew and the curse of the fucking FLDS. Let's do it right now. Let's go, Nancy Drew. So I did. Hardy boyed it up, and I rock and rolled this party. I remember being a kid, and my dad telling me this quote. And it was something along the lines of, it was like a Mark Twain quote. And it was something along the lines of, like, if you find yourself on the side of the majority, you should probably like question like why that is. It wasn't that exact quote, but there's a quote by Mark Twain that is very much like that. And all these people kind of find themselves on the side of the majority. They're all siding with this person who self-proclaimed themselves as a prophet, who is, again, a representation of God on earth. They're going to live forever. They're immortal. It's this man named Rulin' Jess. Now, like I say, like the FLDS, what is it? Like, maybe it's the combination, like I had to do this episode. Maybe it's the combination of my love of Frank Zappa and his like distrust. I'm wearing my Frank Zappa shirt right now. You look down and bow, whap, whap. There's Frank Zappa. Oh, my favorite baby seal. Frank Zappa is just sitting here on my shirt. Maybe, like I say, it's my love of Frank Zappa. Maybe it's my distrust of all things institutionalized, really. healthy distrust of all things institutionalized, like I say, because I've been inside, not like jail, but I've worked for some of these corporations before, and I'm going to say no more about that. But I'm saying, like, so it's my love of Frank Zappa, his misanthropic view on things, my misanthropic view on things, and like a healthy distrust for white men in power and groups that are primarily run by all white men and puts them in places of power. It involves no women, involves no people of color, like at all. No person of color is within that group. And so that's why I focused on the FLDS, because that's exactly what they are. So now back to FLDS. What is it? What is it? What's the FLDS? They really started off like just calling themselves the fundamentalists. They look a little like the Mormon Church, a little bit like the Mormon Church, but really some of their things are really outside the Mormon Church's view. And it's very clear that they're more than a bit of a stone's throw away of what Mormon beliefs are, because the Mormons kind of extradited them and told them to get them out of here with their church. They're like, get out of here with that. The Mormons didn't like what they were preaching. Still like a lot of Mormon beliefs, but also the major support, like I say, of the practice of polygamy, or what they call plural marriage. And in their books, like what would get you to their celestial kingdom, what would elevate you is having more than three, at least three, but more than three wives. And the more wives you had, the more children you had, the more seats, and the better seat you got in the stars. I don't know, having multiple wives in this case, plural marriage, polygamy. I don't know. Sister wives, they call it, my sister wife this, my sister wife this. This is how they refer to each other with sister wives. I don't know about this. A husband for this, a husband for that. It seems like a lot of, how do I put this? It seems like a lot of small dick energy, like around, just like a bunch of husbands just like forcing themselves on women, telling women who they can marry. Because these women, like I tell you, they couldn't get married to who they wanted, who they like loved. They had to get married to these like weird, creepy old men. And they were like young at the time. Like I'm talking like some of them were under 16, like fucked up shit. Come on, FLDS. What the fuck is wrong with you? Fucking child molesters. That's right. I said it. I don't fucking regret it. They got this all wrong. They got this all wrong. The more wives you have, and the more children you have, like I say, the heaven you have gets bigger. You might even get a better throne. You might even get a better seat. Like they think this is going to get them into a celestial kingdom. They're going to be able to unlock all these worlds. They're going to be able to unlock galaxies and different kingdoms. They're going to be able to become gods, like in their own right. And this is what they truly believe, because they're taught this from birth. And if you're taught something as long as you're small, you'll probably grow up believing it, like generally, unless you ask questions, which is something that was not encouraged in the FLDS. So how in the hell did this even begin? Like I say, at one time, all they did was call themselves the fundamentalists. They were kind of like, they still believed in plural marriage, and the church was still going. They did their thing. People gave their money to the church. And they were not like regular people. They all hung around with each other because they had so many children that they all played together. Like most families had about 30 children. It's mind-blowing. 30 fucking children. How do you feed all those kids? How the fuck does that even happen, FLDS? What the fuck are you feeding these children? Because they look fairly healthy. I've seen them. Their hair does not look good. Their hair does not look good. Ladies, take those fucking braids out. I don't know what the fuck that is. But oh my God, FLDS, this is the perfect, I saw this, it was like a diagram. It's like, this is the perfect FLDS hairstyles. They're all braids. I was going to do mine in one today, and I was like, I can't. It would make me embarrassed. So the fundamentalists turned eventually into something called fundamentalist Mormons. And then they got forced out of mainstream Mormonism because they were not mainstream enough for Mormons. The fact that church outlawed polygamy, like hundreds of years, like maybe 100 years before they kind of started doing this, the church made it outlawed. It was illegal. And the FLDS just kind of like leaned on the belief of the prophet, Joseph Smith, who was like an early guy with Mormonism and kind of fundamentalist, I guess I can use those quotes, fundamentalist Mormonism, they leaned on him and said, well, you know, Joseph Smith did it and he kind of greenlit plural marriage, so we're going to lean on that. And so he kind of said, you know, many lives, if you want to have many lives, that equals having many wives. So we're just going to do it like that. So even though it's hard to prove and like it generally goes unprosecuted, plural marriage is something that is still completely illegal, especially in the state of Utah. It's just that people don't want to get in there and like shake up a bunch of like families. Cops don't want to get in there because, like, I got a newsflash for you. The cops are all fucking plurally married too. They have multiple wives. They had interviews down there with cops saying, why don't you, like, you know, why don't you prosecute them? The news anchors would say. And they'd say, well, you know, down here we believe in plural marriage. A cop. Who you jabbing with that cosmic debris? That's fucking crazy. Whew. That's nuts. I'll tell you, a close religious society like that, it's solely controllable because it's so close. Like I say, it's so close knit. It's really solely controllable by one person. It's really easy because it's easy to control all those people and mind control them. And when I talk about Warren Jeffs and even his father, Rulon Jeffs, they look at people's weaknesses and then they prey on them. And then they can control everybody's mind and everybody just listens to them. They just blindly follow them in the most dogmatic way possible. So number one, I got to say about this cult, this church, this FLDS, number one, for the Mormons to oust you, like, that shit is whack. That's got to be pretty bad if you get ousted by the fucking Mormons. Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. Holy smokes. If you get outed by the Mormons and ousted and be like, bye, you have got to have done something really fucked up. In the FLDS, I'll tell you, women are viewed as items, property, chattel, just like a thing. It is not nice the way that women are viewed in the FLDS. I talked about men becoming gods and things like this in the FLDS church. And what do women become when they go to the other celestial kingdom? And a lot of men were asked this. And the answer was all the same. Women on the other side are just wives, the same as they're on this side. That's pretty fucked up. I'm just going to say, that's pretty fucked up. You grow in this life, you hear about how it is from your mom and dad. They say, you got to do this, so you blindly follow. They're your parents. Your folks aren't going to steer you wrong, right? Why would your folks steer you in the wrong direction? The celestial law, this is a celestial law, and it states this: at least 3 wives to get the keys to the kingdom once you hit this higher degree. I'm reading this. You could create spirit children, worlds, dimensions, galaxies, universes. Men only could do this. Only men. People at the time were following the prophet and they're representing, like, the representation of their God on earth. They're following Rulon Jeffs. He was said to be immortal. He was an old motherfucker when they started following him. Rulon Jeffs was fucking old when they started following him. God damn it, was he old. Rulon Jeffs was, like, ancient. And he already had, like, 1 million wives. But apparently he was God on earth. But he was a real monster. He married over 80 women. 80 wives. Many were underage girls. And, you know, with no idea what their fate was going to be. These were underage girls that had no knowledge of what was going to happen to them. They just thought they were marrying a sweet old man. They gave him a peck on the lips, and that was kind of it. No, but the sexual abuse was exactly what these girls and women understood to be wrong. This is what was preached about in the church that was wrong. And they're there like, I married this person. Why would the prophet be doing this to me and forcing this upon me when he said all this time that this is what was wrong with, you know, the world and what was wrong. So they questioned that. And there was a lot of them. And then eventually, like all old fucking farts do, Rulon Jeffs kicked the fucking bucket, didn't he? He kicked the fucking bucket and he stayed dead, as one does. He didn't rise up. He didn't come back to life. He wasn't resurrected like he said he was going to be. And you know, people from the FLDS started questioning it. So again, here come the questions. Like, why wasn't he resurrected? Like, why didn't he rise up like Jesus or whatever they believed in? Why didn't he come back to life? Why wasn't he magically back here? Where was he? Like, what the What the fuck happened? Is he coming back? Enter the dragon. Enter the dragon. Keep sweet. I'll tell you, keep sweet. I'll give you that marriage advice later. Enter Warren Jeffs, who truly was already pulling many, many strings. Since Rulon Jeffs had like a stroke and he'd suffered some bad health and slowly declining health, slowly Warren had kind of moved his way into Rulon's position and controlled who his dad was talking to, who he was looking at, who was, even his wives, you know, he was controlling everything. Who he was speaking to, giving permission to, giving money to, who was giving money to him, dealing with his business stuff. He was saying, you know, his dad's mind was on the decline. He was having stroke. So he couldn't think. So he took over his father's affair. And all of his affairs, I guess. I can't say he really took over an affair because he took over everything. And like I say, he was very controlling. And after Rulon's death, Warren quickly started doing something very strange. And that was marrying all of Rulon Jeffs' wives, who were in theory his mothers. So he started marrying mothers. He started marrying his moms. Wow, Warren Jeffs. I guess the price of meat is going up and your mom is going down. Holy fuck. So he just sequentially just started marrying women night after night that were his dad's wives. And he, I think, married maybe all of them. He just wanted to marry as many women as he possibly could. The younger, the better, though. Warren Jeffs had, I'm going to tell you right now, he had this marital advice that he was giving out to anyone who was getting married. And it was, and even Rulon Jeffs had this, and it was keep sweet. Keep sweet. And what that meant was, no matter what, and above all, your attitude was to keep sweet. So even if your husband was yelling at you and tearing a strip off you, you couldn't share your like emotions and get upset. Or if, you know, you're 15 and getting married for the first time and having your first sexual experience which was actually theoretically assault because you were marrying your first cousin, they were older than you. You said no, but they said, you know, as a woman, this is your wifely duty. This is my husbandly right. The prophet said so. And are you questioning the prophet? So there was a lot of abuse going on. Not good. So Oedipus married all of his father's wives. You know, like, take it easy, Oedipus, Rulon Jeffs. Your mom jokes, honestly, against him may never stop. You married your mom. Gross. Anyone who marries their mom. Fuck. What is with these, I don't know, these relationships with our mothers? Anyways, it's Father's Day, so I won't talk about that. But anyways, to better further his odds, I'll tell you, Rulon Jeffs was a slippery snake. To better further his odds with the ladies, he decided to take all of the eligible bachelors and he decided to ship them out of the town, like out of the fucking town. Get fucking rid of them. So he shipped boys all over the place and they were homeless. They had no place to go. And the boys didn't really know what to do. So he was really abusing his position. He took all of his members' businesses. He took over really successful businesses. He took over all the profits that those businesses earned. I mean, he took over some crazy ass businesses. Like I say, like he took over Walmart, Amazon, to name a few. But the reason he had like the money he did and the reason he profited as much as he did from taking over these businesses is because within the FLDS Church, he had free 24/7 labor. So imagine having a warehouse or something and being able to keep it going 24/7 for free. Imagine the profits because I mean, these people are just doing their duty to God, or the prophet. And who are you to question the prophet? Obviously. Free labor, constant production. That's a lot of dough. That's a lot of dough. He was raking it in. Now, the underage marriages were going on and off like the 4th of fucking July. Underage marriages. He was taking them down with Warren Power, with Warren in power. He was taking them down to another part of the country and marrying them off, just putting them in a van. I'll tell you, this plural marriage thing had been a part of the church before, but since Warren had been in power, the underage marriage thing, like I say, it really took off. He was taking them down to a place called Caliente. And as long as the marriages weren't like registered, there was no records of them, and there weren't many pictures of them, and there was no paper trail of them. He was performing these marriages in these like abandoned hotels. And a lot of these marriages, and most of them, like I will say, were underage. I'm talking like these girls were like fucking 14 and 15 years old. Well, who the fuck gets married at 14 or 15 years old, let alone to their first and second cousins? Come on. He was performing these marriages, so he was holding these weddings, and the social architecture to make this fucking whole thing work is just like ridiculous. The power he must have had over people. This guy is obviously handing out brides, and obviously the guy who's handing out the brides is getting all the glory because he's smuggling women at this point. I will tell you that the FLDS is probably one of the biggest human trafficking organizations in the fucking world. They ship boys, vulnerable boys that they get rid of, all over the world to do construction jobs all over the place because the labor is dirt cheap, free. Girls, same things. They just were shipping women all over the country, and young girls too, all over the country for underage marriages. It was sick. It was absolutely sick. Now, while all this shit is going down in Utah, many people were asking the question and breathing down Warren Jeffs' neck, and were looking really closely at Warren Jeffs. The FBI was looking at him. The cops were looking at him. Everybody was kind of like giving him like the stink eye and being like, this guy's moving around a lot. This guy's got a lot of shit going on. This guy's got a lot of power and he's got a lot of money. I wonder what we can get him on. I wonder if we can get him on anything. He had been working on his own like kind of Zion, FYZ. He'd been working on this place called Zion in Texas for quite a while. And it was his like idea, I guess, of his nirvana and where he wanted everyone to be. And it was creepy. It was kind of like another culty, like compound in Texas. And he'd gone back and forth. Texas, though, I'll say, bad move, bro. Like moving to Texas was stupid. Anyways, for quite some time, he had serious plans and he had things in mind for select and special followers. He was marrying underage girls off often. And like I say, his first and second cousins were being married off just like crazy. It was ridiculous. So like I say, Warren Jeffs had serious plans in mind for serious followers and select followers. And most of those followers were underage girls and children. And he wanted them to come to Zion. He really wanted them to come to Zion, to his nirvana. And he wanted them to follow him. And now, as much as he was marrying young girls off, he was also breaking up families at the time. He was stripping men of their titles of being at the church. And as stripping them of their titles, he stripped them of their wives, of their children, their families. They'd just come home one day and everything would be gone. Their wives would be married to someone else. Their children would now belong to someone else. That was it. If you were smarter than him, if you knew more than him, if you'd been to school more than him, if you were intimidating to him, he got rid of you and found a reason to get rid of you. Warren Jeffs was terrible. Terrible, terrible, terrible. This guy was going a million miles an hour. There was no one to stop him. He had a 44-bedroom Utah home. I will tell you, it's now converted into a sober living facility. Thank God. A 44-bedroom Utah home, what do you need that for? All your wives, that's what. All those wives, they'd line up to give him kisses at night. Oh, I'm just so glad this guy eventually got arrested. Now, moving many members, like I mentioned, I said select members, it wasn't easy. I said that he thought in his mind, and he said the prophet told him, and God came down and told him that children would save them. So he just took these people's children, all just like willy-nilly, took them in the middle of the night, didn't give them a chance to say goodbye to their parents, was just like, anyways, I'm just going to bring them to Zion. You're never going to see them again. The end. Like, you're just supposed to be okay with that. So he's still been going back and forth, performing marriages and taking kids to Zion and young girls, marrying people. At this point, people were seeing that people were getting indoctrinated and married, and people that were not going to Zion were really seeing the bullshit that was really going on. They're seeing through the veil of bullshit that he was presenting. And they tried to like escape, and a lot of people got out. Like I'll say they got out. And the mental prison of being something like that, like being involved in an organization like that, the mental prison is just as bad as like the physical prison of being there. I think the mental prison is actually worse because that's the part that you have a hard time really getting out of and like breaking out of like the cult mentality unless you get actual therapy for it. And there is therapy for it. Trust me, there's therapy for coming out of a cult. You can get it. It's easy, but just do it. Get the work done because honestly, The mental prison's far worse than any physical one. Get the help. But I will tell you, it was only in September of 2017 that Warren Jeffs got convicted on 2 counts of an accomplice to rape because he was doing these underage marriages. And he got convicted and he served 3 years, but then he was extradited. He was extradited into Texas because some judge overturned the case because there was insufficient evidence or something. He got extradited to Texas. But in Texas, deep in the heart of Texas, the stars at night are big and bright. Deep in the heart of Texas, reminds me of the one I love. Bum, 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 bum. Deep in the heart of Texas. I know all the Texas songs. I know A Yellow Rose of Texas. Anyways, that's another episode altogether. But in Texas, I'll tell you, he was found guilty of sexual assault of a child, which was the rape of a 15-year-old that he married himself. And he was also found guilty of the aggravated sexual assault of a child who was 12 that he married as well. And that was also another rape charge. So there is your trigger warning. That's horrible for today. But like, this is what this guy did. And he got busted on it finally. So he is... he made it the FBI's most wanted list. I said that at the beginning of the episode. He made it to the FBI's most wanted list. He's now receiving a life sentence. You know, people came to visit him still in jail. He still had followers coming to visit him in jail and like kind of spit his words back to his followers. But eventually, after that kind of stuff started happening, after people saw what was going on, the Zion Ranch eventually got raided, thank God. And all the children were kind of taken by CAS and Child Protective Services and placed in places where things were kind of, you know, normal. And they got placed in good families. They got placed back with their normal and like natural families. And they got out of that lifestyle. There's still about 400 people living in Bear Creek still that follow the polygamy and the FLDS kind of lifestyle. Warren Jeffs is obviously still not there. I don't know who the prophet is now. He's still not there, but like, obviously there's people in this community. They're living there. And Warren Jeffs is obviously long gone. Like I say, he's gone. He's not living there anymore. Who's running it? Who knows? Prison life is probably weird for him. I don't know. What stuck around, though, is the hush-hush, the plural marriage. This is why I don't know about it. The hush-hush stuck around. The shh kind of attitude about it. The town still does it. All the police officers do it. All the people in power do it. The mayors. They all believe in plural marriage. They think it's okay. Just no one talks about it. That stuck around. The plural marriage stuck around, like I say. The patriarchal bullshit stuck around. All the white men in power stuck around. I'm glad I just don't live there. I think it'll kind of always be around, unfortunately. An organization run, like I say, by all white men in places of power is horrifying to me as a human. Especially as a human that identifies as a female. Like, yikes. But to anyone, that should be horrifying to you. Happy fucking Father's Day. That's crazy. I think as human beings, we need everybody to make it work here. So fucking don't just like blend everybody into one category. We need everybody's help to kind of make this fucking work out. I think that power over people shouldn't come from gender, color, or race, or creed, or culture, or anything like that. I think you shouldn't gain power over someone because you are aware of their sexual orientation or something they believe in. I think if you attack someone's personal character, I think you're shitty. I think you should use that power and that energy upon yourself and either bring it inward or create positivity and put it outward. Save all that good energy and just put it out. Just breathe out the bad stuff. Make safe spaces for yourself. Make positive spaces for yourself. Make safe spaces for other people. Make them want to be around you. Be good to yourself. Be good to others. Just be nice. Be kind. That's what I can say. That's all, folks. That's all, folks. I got Porky Pig with you coming out this week, obviously. That's all, folks. Why not watch some Father's Day cartoons? Put them on with your kids. Go crazy. Have the best Father's Day ever. Any kind of parental figure that you are out there. If you're taking care of kids, you're a dad. Just if you're taking care, you're making them feel warm and safe and happy and good and secure where they are and secure in who they are, secure in their autonomy, secure in their life. You make them feel love. If you can give them love, that's the best fucking thing you can give them on the earth. I'm going to drop my socials this week so you know where to find me. You always know I'm rocking and rolling on the gram. I'm a slave to the gram. I love Instagram. I'm there at 21st Century Rocker Mom Podcast. Like, it's there. I'm just at 21st Century Rocker Mom. You can find me there every single fucking day. I'm on my bloody Instagram. I got something going on for you on Instagram most days. Working on records, doing all kinds of crazy shit. Working on hot sauces. I've been doing hot sauces all week. I've been eating hot sauce all fucking week. I'm so excited to talk to you about hot sauce, but I have guests for that as well. You can find me on Twitter at Tanya Candler. I'm always tweeting on there, usually about politics, so if you want to follow that, or about hockey or something crazy. There's stuff about shows on there too. You can find me streaming everywhere. You can find podcasts at 21st Century Rocker Mom Podcast. You can find me everywhere. You can go to the link in my bio on Instagram, or you can just subscribe to my YouTube channel, just Tanya Candler channel. I'm there all the time, rock and rolling for you every week. I got something good coming out for you and you and you, and especially you. You can find me on LinkedIn if you so wished to connect with me on LinkedIn and become one of my business connections. We can absolutely hook that up. You can find me on Fiverr. I'm there too. You can find me ticking in and talking on TikTok at 21st Century Rocker Mom. You can find me there. I'm just chilling out, just doing weird stuff, getting chased by dinosaurs. Usually I put my TikToks up on my stories on Instagram. They're usually weird. Don't ask me why. Kids find it entertaining. It's fun. Otherwise, I will be hanging out with you. You can always find me here in this chair, hanging out with you every single fucking week on 21st Century Rocker Mom Podcast. I love you. Have a blessed week. Have a lovely Father's Day. I love you all. Peace be with you.